Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, President Biden has announced a deal on his domestic policy package, but not without cutting several of the Democrats' top priorities. Why some lawmakers are frustrated. Pfizer's COVID vaccine for kids has been granted emergency use authorization by the FDA. Find out the hurdles it still faces. A civil trial begins in Charlottesville more than 4 years after the deadly Unite the Right rally. We'll have the details on what took place in court today. Virginia gubernatorial candidate Glenn Youngkin comes to Buena Vista with polls showing his race with Terry McAuliffe in a virtual tie. And will this cloudy weather spill into the weekend? Weather anchor Drew Thompson has your 5-day forecast. All that and more coming up on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news from Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
And welcome to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Carly Snyder. Later on, I'll be joined by Adam Lamberti, Drew Thompson's weather, and James Laverty sports. Progress on Capitol Hill. President Joe Biden unveiling the new framework of his climate and economic package he hopes will strike the right balance to convince his party to vote to approve it. CNN's Isabel Rosales is in Washington with a breakdown of what stayed and what got dropped from his Build Back Better plan that could change the lives of Americans if it passes.
President Joe Biden pitching a new and significantly scaled-back version of his massive economic plan.
I know we have a historic economic framework.
The $1.75 trillion proposal focuses on child care, climate change, health care, and more.
It's a framework that will create millions of jobs, grow the economy, invest in our nation and our people.
Without any Republican support, the president hopes this version will get holdouts in his party on board to vote. On the moderate side, no clear deal. Senator Kyrsten Sinema said in a statement she looks forward to getting this done. At half the cost of Biden's original Build Back Better plan, it drops top priorities for progressives, including paid family and medical leave and free community college.
No one got everything they wanted, including me. But that's what compromise is.
Biden's entire legislative agenda is at an inflection point. Some progressives still frustrated with Senate moderates.
Our trust has to be in two senators that have not, in my opinion, been good faith actors up until this point.
But there is growing consensus over the new plan, along with support for the companion infrastructure bill.
Our members are enthusiastic about voting for both bills when that text is ready.
Despite the high-stakes gamble, there is confidence Biden's full agenda will ultimately pass both the House and the Senate.
We have the text out there. We're on a path to get this all done.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
Health officials are closing in on a decision about Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for kids 5 to 11. CNN's Britt Conway has the latest on the process, along with answers to some frequently asked questions.
We are getting closer and closer to that really important milestone.
Closer to a COVID-19 vaccine for kids 5 to 11. Pfizer's vaccine just got the thumbs up on emergency use authorization from the FDA's vaccine advisors.
Recommending approval of this vaccine.
So what happens next?
The FDA now needs to do its deliberation, taking into account the advisory committee's input. And then after that, the CDC's advisory committee will meet.
That's on the books for November 2nd. If they give it the go-ahead, the CDC is expected to make its official recommendation, possibly with modifications. That means the nation's 28 million kids 5 to 11 could be eligible for their first shot by next week. But some parents are still hesitant. A recent survey shows only about a third of parents of kids in that age group plan to get them vaccinated right away. There are some common questions doctors say they're getting right now, like what about the potential risks of the vaccine?
The cumulative benefits outweigh any potential risk.
My child already had COVID. Would a vaccine still help?
The level of your immunity against reinfection is really profound. It goes way, way up.
What about safety moving forward?
The safety monitoring of this vaccine will continue. It has actually been quite intense.
And health officials say they're ready to roll. I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Facebook is undergoing a major rebrand as it looks to rebound from recent scrutiny. CEO Mark Zuckerberg said his company is rebranding itself as Meta. It's an effort to encompass its virtual reality vision for the future, called the Metaverse. It also appears to be an attempt to change the subject from the Facebook papers, a collection of leaked documents that has revealed the ways Facebook ignored internal reports and warnings of the harms it created across the world. Opening statements began today in the civil trial against the organizers of the deadly 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. 12 jurors are set to decide whether the organizers knew the event would turn violent. One person was killed and dozens of people were injured in the chaos surrounding the rally. The violence reached a crescendo when James Fields, who was protesting the removal of a Robert E. Lee statue, drove his car through the crowd, killing 32-year-old Heather Heyer. Fields is serving 2 concurrent life sentences. Charlottesville residents and counter-protesters filed the civil lawsuit. They claim organizers engaged in a conspiracy and are seeking damages for the physical and emotional injuries they suffered. Selecting the jurors took 3 days. The judge asked them about their feelings on racism, the Black Lives Matter movement, Antifa, white nationalism, and whether they already decided who was responsible for the violence. The Lexington City Council has agreed to increase Lexington police officers' salaries by 12%. After suffering from 9 departures in the last 18 months, LPD finds itself severely understaffed and is struggling to find replacements. Mayor Frank Friedman says it's a top priority to replace these officers and provide assistance to the current staff who are working overtime. The 12% increase brings the new base salary slightly to over $40,000 a year, making its base higher than the Rockbridge Sheriff's Office, but still lower than the Buena Vista PD. Along with rewarding current officers, the council is hopeful the pay raise will make the LPD more competitive in recruiting new officers. Dabney S. Lancaster Community College is one step away from officially having a new name. The school in Clifton Forge announced last month its name will change after troubling history surfaced regarding its namesake. Reporter Ian Dardany has an update on DSLCC's potential new name.
Dabney S. Lancaster Community College just needs the state board's approval to officially be known as Mountain Gateway Community College. After a long selection process and a community vote, the school's task force agreed on the name, which is a reference to its geographical location. The local board approved the name last week, and it will now be voted on by the state board in November. If it is approved, Dabney S. Lancaster CC will be known as Mountain Gateway CC starting July 1st, 2022. Until then, students will graduate this spring under the current name while the school strategizes rebranding. With the Rockbridge Report, I'm Ian Dardany.
Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, the Virginia governor's race is neck and neck just days before voters head to the polls. We'll go live to Buena Vista, where Republican Glenn Youngkin is looking to mobilize voters.
Hi, it's cloudy today with rain expected Friday and Saturday. Tune in later for the full forecast.
And later, COVID-19 has had a major impact on transportation across the country. But how has it impacted public transportation and car prices locally? Tori Johnson will tell us how people are getting around Rockbridge County when the Rockbridge Report returns.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Adam Lamberti. The Virginia gubernatorial race is neck and neck just days before voters head to the polls in a decisive election. Recent polls show Democrat and former Governor Terry McAuliffe is virtually tied with Republican Glenn Youngkin. McAuliffe has enlisted the help of political heavyweights Barack Obama, Stacey Abrams, and recently Joe Biden to swing voters. Biden won Virginia by 10 percentage points last year, but Youngkin outraised McAuliffe during the first 3 weeks of October. We now go live to Buena Vista, where Glenn Youngkin is hosting an event to mobilize voters. Our Brianna Hatch is there with the latest.
Park in Buena Vista, where Youngkin is set to speak to a crowd of around 120 local voters as part of his Southwest Virginia bus tour campaign. Youngkin is hoping to mobilize voters as he heads into a tight race for Tuesday's elections.
The Carrs Creek District of Rockbridge County has 2 contested races in Tuesday's election. Morgan McCown and Katie Austin Brown are competing for the Rockbridge County School Board seat. Both are formerly teachers in the county. Local business owner Scott Guys is challenging incumbent Daniel Lyons for the Board of Supervisors spot. Guys wants to support local businesses without increasing taxes and remove what he says is the teaching of critical race theory from public schools. Lyons is running on his past successes on the board, like opening vaccination sites for COVID-19. To find out the results for these elections and more, tune into the Rockbridge Report's live election night coverage on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Top executives at ExxonMobil and other oil giants testified at a major House hearing today. Congressional Democrats are investigating what they describe as decades-long campaign to spread disinformation about the role of fossil fuels in global warming. But the executives refuted these claims, saying they have been consistent with climate science. It comes after months of public efforts by Democrats to obtain documents and other information on the oil industry's role in stopping climate action over multiple decades. With the beautiful fall weather, it's a great time to explore the Rockbridge area. But those who don't already have transportation may be unlucky. Supply shortages make buying a car or bike difficult. Tori Johnson reports.
Transportation sources in Rockbridge County have been battered by the pandemic's consequences. One car dealership is racing to keep up.
It's a bizarre car market. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I've never seen anything like it.
Betting that the pandemic would keep demand low, auto suppliers didn't produce enough parts. Now prices are high and dealerships are scrambling for inventory. Sanders says total stock is at about 40% of what it was 2 to 3 years ago, and that the situation isn't likely to improve for another year and a half. The Rockbridge Area Transportation System, or RATS, provides alternative transportation. RATS drives people with special needs, the elderly, and those who just need a lift.
People became less able to move by themselves, needed more transportation assistance to help because their friends and their family weren't able to come right over and help them at the drop of a hat.
Some medically vulnerable people traveled less for their own safety, decreasing revenue for RATS. Drivers were laid off and only some were rehired. Watkins says RATS hopes to bounce back with new community partnerships. Dave Walsh, co-owner of Red Newt Bikes, thinks Lexington is a fantastic place to ride, but supply chain woes are stifling his business.
In 2020, I probably got about 10% of the bikes I ordered because of a shortage.
Red Newt Bikes both sells and repairs bikes. Walsh says there are year-long backups on orders for bikes and parts.
Because it's frustrating to tell people constantly, I can't get what you want.
Walsh says bike buyers nationwide are starting to order online rather than from local stores. Sanders also says Ford is moving to an order-based model, lessening the inventory at dealerships.
Our industry has fundamentally changed, and I think a lot of industries have fundamentally changed.
But until that pivot is complete, getting new transportation will be troublesome. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Tori Johnson.
Coming up on the Rockbridge Report.
Yeah, not much sleep. It was so loud and windy. Hear a crash and a boom and hope it wasn't getting near us.
A bomb cyclone wreaks havoc on the Northeast and leaves thousands without power. We'll have the latest. It's finally time for the World Series, and the NFL is heating up. James Laverty has the latest from the diamond, the pitch, and the gridiron, both professionally and here on campus. And later, it's finally fall here in Lexington. The leaves are changing color, and temperatures are dropping. But what can we expect this weekend? Drew Thompson will have your Rockbridge Report weather forecast when we return.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Drew Thompson. Hundreds of thousands of New Englanders are still in the dark after a nor'easter strengthened into a bomb cyclone and tore through the region. John Lawrence looks at recovery efforts in the area.
Under debris and in the dark, New Englanders are dealing with the aftermath of a huge storm.
We came outside with a flashlight and saw that this tree had fallen on our roof.
Throughout, you can see homes damaged, trees uprooted, and boats blown aground. The storm drenching some areas in 2 to 8 inches of rain. with wind gusts reaching 74 miles per hour in parts of Massachusetts and Rhode Island, prompting warnings from the National Weather Service to stay off roadways and away from windows.
Yeah, not much sleep. It was so loud and windy. Hear a crash and a boom and hope it wasn't getting near us.
In Brockton, Massachusetts, firefighters braved the extreme conditions while battling a large blaze at this building and a transformer fire at a home nearby.
As I'm about to lock the door, I saw the first transformer go off, and after that, basically, that one blew up down there, and then the last one blew up right here in the house, and then the house caught on fire.
As the storm moves out to sea, the governor of Massachusetts says utility workers are doing their best to restore power.
In some cases, they do need to wait until the winds come down before it's really going to be safe to get up into a bucket truck.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Hi, we're back with a live shot of Glenmorey Park and Buena Vista. For today's weather highlights, the high was 60 degrees with a low of 51. Barometric pressure is 29 and 87/100 inches of mercury. Wind speed is 6 miles per hour and humidity is standing at 76%. For a quick look at radar, as you can see, there's substantial cloud coverage in the region today with some rain coming from the west and south. We can expect that tomorrow. Regional temperatures, 64 degrees in Charlottesville, 58 degrees in Lexington, 58 degrees in Buena Vista, 66 degrees in Lynchburg, and 55 degrees in Stanton. A quick 5-day look at the upcoming weather. Rainy tomorrow with a chance of some thunderstorms. Saturday also rainy, a high tomorrow of 66 and a low of 47 degrees. Saturday, a high of 60 and a low of 46. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, the sun comes back out with highs in the lower 60s and lows in the lower 40s and upper 30s. And coming up next on the Rockbridge Report, it's Wine Month in Virginia. Find out how some Rockbridge County vineyards are celebrating. And the World Series is all tied up after 2 games. James Laverty will give you the rundown on what went down on the diamond last night in Houston.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Carly Snyder. Governor Northam recently gave a toast to the rising sales in Virginia's wine industry. Sales keep increasing as the state celebrates its 33rd annual Wine Month. Simona Radova has the story.
October is Wine Month in Virginia, and this year there is yet another reason to celebrate. According to Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, the state wine industry experienced a 7.4% sales growth in 2021.
I have no doubt that people are probably drinking more at home based on the pandemic. But I also like to think that people are getting more sophisticated in their likes of wine.
Virginia is currently home to over 300 wineries, 5 of them in Rockbridge County alone. Great Valley Farm, Brewery and Winery recently celebrated its 5th anniversary. They started producing wine in 2019.
The quality of Virginia wines has raised, here in recent years. And so I think that's why, you're seeing more growth in the industry.
Bailey says Great Valley Farm has received great local support and become a really steady business in a short time.
A lot of people were visiting wineries during the pandemic just, because of the outdoor space that we provide.
The legacy of winemaking in Virginia is carried through generations. Ryan Hale, owner of Lexington Valley Vineyard, took over as the main winemaker in 2014.
We do source some grapes from local vineyards in the Shenandoah Valley, but we like to try to grow as many as we can here on site.
Hale says people's knowledge and experience with Virginia wine has become much sharper over the last few decades.
Having local wines is something we can be proud of. We can make very good quality wines here, and we don't have to try to sort of mimic another area.
Local wine enthusiasts agree that Virginia wines have definitely come a long way.
We used to go to Virginia wineries many, many years ago when there was only a handful of wineries in Virginia, and we used to say, that's pretty good for a Virginia wine, but now they're just good.
Rockbridge County has proven to be a popular place for a vineyard, and local wineries keep expanding or reinventing themselves as winery and brewery. For the Rockbridge Report, this is Simona Radova.
And we are back, and it is time to talk a little sports. Nothing quite says October like Friday Night Lights, and we'll take you down to Rockbridge County, where the Wildcats went on the road this weekend to Broadway to play the Gobblers. They went into the game as the 4th-ranked seed in the current playoff picture, and Broadway as the 6th seed, but that is going to be soon to change as Broadway shut out Rockbridge 42-0. Broadway's Cameron Showalter led the way with 5 touchdowns on the game. Rockbridge will fall to 5-3, and they'll play a 4-4 Harrisonburg team on the road Friday night. Perry McClure had a better turn of events this weekend as they improved to 5-3 and took down their division rival Covington 35-6. If you play high school fantasy football, which I'm sure a lot of you do, I hope you had John Snyder on your team as he ran for 287 yards and 5 touchdowns. And in Lexington, the Washington Elite football team took care of business this young alumni weekend as their defense held Bridgewater to just 117 yards en route to a 17-0 victory. It was another ground and pound type game for the Generals as Josh Brees ran for 117 yards and his 8th and 9th rushing touchdowns of the year. The Generals extended their winning streak to 6 as they are 4-0 in ODAC play. They go on the road to Emory and Henry this weekend for a non-conference game. And on the soccer field, the men's team stayed undefeated as they downed Virginia Wesleyan to improve to 13-0-2. Samuel Bass recorded his 10th goal of the season and the 18th of his WNL career. And the World Series is all tied up at 1 as the Braves and the Astros split the first 2 games of the series. Last night, the Houston Bats came alive early against Braves ace Max Fried to win, as they went on to win 7-2 thanks to a Jose Altuve home run. The series travels to Atlanta this weekend as the Astros send Luis Garcia and the Braves send Ian Anderson to the mound for Game 3 tomorrow night. And in football, tonight's Thursday night matchup is between 2 Super Bowl hopefuls in the 6-1 Green Bay Packers and the undefeated Arizona Cardinals. But both teams are going to be without some star power tonight. Both of Aaron Rodgers' top 2 targets, Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard, will be out due to COVID protocols. And for the Cardinals, defensive end J.J. Watt will undergo season-ending shoulder surgery. Even without Watt, though, the Cardinals go into the game as 6.5-point favorites thanks to MVP candidate Kyler Murray. That's all for today's edition of the Rockbridge Report. Keep up to date on more regional news by visiting rockbridgereport.wlu.edu. And join us again on Tuesday for our live election night coverage. That starts at 7 and will be continuously throughout the night on our website. Thanks for joining us today.